able to get him in any sooner, but we luckily have him here. He began his career firefighting EMT in Park Orchard, Washington. He has been doing this for over 26 years, so we are very lucky to get a seasoned chief down in our direction. I think the last chief was from Washington, Pat Dale, he came, so we should thank, I guess, Washington, because they send us lots of good chiefs. He has served in many leadership positions such as lieutenant, deputy fire marshal, captain, and most recently battalion chief, and now we have the honor of having him down here. And this was the only stuff I could find online. I couldn't find any personal information, so...
Perfect, it's working.
Yeah, first responders do not put very much information on social media, so thank you.
So thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and obviously we have some folks that I'm familiar with in the room. So as far as my fire service, I'll kind of start with my introduction or history, I guess. So I just celebrated my 30th year in the fire service in January, and I started all in Washington. I'm born and raised in Southern California, so don't hold that against me, but I've been in the Pacific Northwest for 32 years. So I moved to Washington right out of high school, worked at a lumber mill for a short period of time, and then got hired on to, like you said, Port Orchard Fire Department in 1994. And moved around a little bit in King County, or Kitsap County, and then in 1998, I moved over to King County, Washington, which is the much busier county. So just to kind of put that into perspective, right now Redmond Fire and Rescue runs about 7,200 calls a year. My headquarters station alone up there ran about 8,200 with just 2 units. So it's an incredibly busy organization. We're only 41 square miles, but we had 160,000 population and ran almost 30,000 calls. So it's a very, very busy system. So like you said, I came here from South King Fire, and I was a battalion chief for about 8 years before moving to Redmond. Now I'm new to Central Oregon, new to Redmond, not too unfamiliar with Central Oregon. Over the last 5 years, I've been to Central Oregon quite a few times on a Type 1 and Type 2 incident management team for wildfires. So I serve as a medical unit leader, and I was out here last year for almost 3 months on Peace Lake Fire and the fires in Eugene, Springfield area. So again, not too new to Central Oregon, but new to the organization. Just to give you guys some updates, of course this is going to be all old news for those board of directors in the room, but first thing, the organization, we just had a change in elected leaders. Ken Kerfoot served as a board director for the past 7 years. I made the difficult decision to resign, to move to the valley and be close to family, and so him and his wife are in the process of that moving. I don't know if they've moved quite yet.
I sold her.
Oh, you did? Okay. So it's, as I told him publicly in a meeting, I really do applaud people for making a decision. I think public servants tend to think about the communities that they serve and the people they serve before themselves. Ken has a long history of public service as a police officer, volunteer firefighter, and a board of directors. So, I just want to recognize that. We had 3 applicants for that position. They were for his vacancy. Amanda Jo Llewellyn, who is an events director with the Chamber of Commerce. She was elected to that position. She just was sworn in this morning, so I look forward to working with her. The annual budget, which Josh and Mr. Unger, you guys were part of that budget committee, that was
So is John.
Oh yeah, that's right. Sorry, I missed that. That budget was adopted by the board, so we're moving forward with that. I kind of came in the organization at a time there's a lot of work to do. Contract negotiations for 3 separate bargaining units started right away. So there was a lot of work to do. I wish I could really kind of get into some of the much needed work throughout the organization, but we're slowly getting there. when I say that, good segue, the local option levy that was supported by the citizens, which included the hiring of 9 firefighters to increase our staffing and deal with recruitment and retention. We're actually starting that effort. So it just got posted on social media, press release was just done. We're starting that process to hiring those 9 firefighters over the next 6 months, and that'll help us increase staffing really all over, but the downtown core I think is going to be really key to getting some of the staffing that we need. Where I came from, we're busy, but the work that they did was different from here. These folks do an incredible job, and I don't think people really understand when that bell hits. They don't just jump on a rig and go. They have to decide based on the information that they have, which rig am I going to jump on? And that might be a Type 6 brush truck, it might be a Type 3 wildland engine, it might be a Type 1 fire engine, it might be a medic unit, or a tender or a ladder truck. There's a variety of units that we cross-staff. Unfortunately, we don't have the staffing to staff every piece of apparatus. But this additional staffing will help us hopefully staff another unit, eliminate some cross-staffing so there is a dedicated group of folks that are responding to incidents. So the south end has been an area that we have identified a little bit of a gap in our coverage. Right now the crew that comes from Klein Falls is serving that area, so it's a little bit of a haul for them to get there. But I really do applaud these folks. They work hard, and when they're out on these wildfires and the Cafferty fire, they work hard. They're out there digging line, and they might work on this fire for 6 or 8 hours, and they don't go home. They go back to the station where they get ready for the next call. So they are doing a phenomenal job. So let's see, the ISO is the Insurance Services Office. They actually do a rating of organizations and agencies to kind of rate their fire preparedness. Right now, Redmond Fire and Rescue, or the area, we have an ISO rating of 3, a 10W, and a 10. And 3 is areas and homes within 5 miles of a fire station. That 10W is within 7 miles of a fire station that has 1,000 feet, or has a hydrant within 1,000 feet. And then just the standard 10W is not having a fire hydrant within that. But we're actually in the process. Tom Mooney, who's our fire marshal, which you will know, is working with several other folks in the organization on the re-rate. We are anticipating an increase in that ISO rating within, homes that are within the 5 miles of a fire station, and that ISO rating could play into insurance costs and premiums and result in a saving. So it'll be great to be able to see that increase if it in fact comes. And with that, I don't have any other additional updates for the organization. Like I said, I came in at contract negotiations time. We've negotiated 2 contracts, so we got 2 down, we got 1 to go. The board just approved the second one, and we signed one today. So once that's done, we're already kind of starting to work on things identified in the strategic plan, updating all of our policies. We have policies that are close to 20 years old that need to be addressed. Some grant services that we're working on for alternative funding. We do have a lot of needs operationally, and so we have to rely not only on the community to support us, but also any way that we could get money, whether it's private, state, or federal. So we're working on several different grants right now, an AFG grant through the federal government to bring us more firefighters, as well as new AEDs for ALS calls. And let's see, what else? Am I missing anything, Tom?
We applied for our fire prevention and safety grant for a fire extinguisher prop. So right now, you kind of have to use a propane pan with water in it, and you spray the agent, and it makes a real big mess. The prop we're looking at is a digital version, so you can use it all year long, inside the building, outside the building. So hopefully, if we qualify that grant and get it, we'll be able to start offering that more to the citizens.
We have a UTV grant, which is going to help us get into some areas within the Klein Falls area. So we're waiting to hear back on that grant as well. The Defensible Space Grant through the OSFM, which if you have any questions on that, you can talk with Tom. He's the one kind of leading the charge on that. Now, I guess if you have any questions for me, I'll open it up to any questions. Sure.
How are the applicants? Are you getting a good amount of applicants for the new positions you're posting?
So it just opened, so I'm not sure how many applicants we have right now. It's open to new entry level as well as lateral, so we might get some folks from other areas of the country, Oregon, that are looking to move to Redmond. I'm hoping that we get a good turnout, but I know that we're an all ALS fire organization, which means every firefighter we have is a paramedic. And that limits the pool a little bit just from the specialty aspect of the EMS certification. They have to go through a program. Here at COCC, we have some EMTs that are going through that program now. But it's a long program, and to get that, it really does make the job a little more specialized and limits that pool a little bit.
Speaking of that, what's the bare minimum that someone needs to come in? If you say entry level, so what is the bare minimum someone needs to do to apply?
So we have two different positions. One's an EMT basic. So lowest level, they have to have a high school diploma. They have to be of age determined by the organization. So our EMTs come in, they actually are EMT basic, so they have an EMT certification, but then they also go through COCC's paramedic program. Several of our, I think that position just ended, or the program just ended. I think we're going through the internship right now for everybody. So they work with other paramedics in the organization to then get qualified through that program and get their paramedic certification. So the entry-level firefighter, they need a paramedic certification at the time of condition off. So some of our EMTs that are going through, and that's the goal with our EMT program, is that they go through and become paramedics, have their paramedic certification, and when we open it for hiring, they know the organization, they know the community, they're able to kind of seamlessly apply for that position. So they would have to, at minimum, have their paramedic certification.
Can you talk to us a little bit about the stations over here at the airport? Once in a while you'll see a call out to the airport. What's there and how does it work?
So at the fire station at the airport, we have a single crash truck. It has 3,000 gallons of agent, and it's only staffed with one firefighter. So that may surprise you. It certainly surprised me. Where I came from, staffing levels are a little more bolstered up just because of the safety aspect. Now the FAA does not, based on the index of our airport, they only require one firefighter on duty. They really look at the agent that you're able to provide and how long you're able to provide. So we get alert 1, alert 2, alert 3s. Those are 3 different levels of emergency. Alert 1, we just had one today, which is a very low level. Someone might be having an aircraft that's running rough. They might be having instrument problems, but there's no other threat associated. So the alert 1 is there to get apparatus on scene in case something were to happen. Alert 2, slightly more elevated as far as the aircraft and any sort of associated risk. We've had our first alert 3 since I've been here, just a couple weeks ago. It actually, an aircraft went off the runway slightly and resulted in a very minor fire, so they were able to get there quickly and put it out without any sort of injury to anybody, which was good. Unfortunately, it does shut down the airport for a little while until we get that mitigated. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, because you see in the movies, when a plane's coming out with a problem, there's 18 different vehicles going there. And we have one.
We have one. Yeah. It is something that I hope to change. I think when there's an increase in our index, which we do anticipate is going to be happening within the next year or two as the expansion project continues, as more airlines actually come in and fly in and out of Redmond. My cousin is actually a pilot in Washington State, flies here regularly with his company, and they fly to Bend, and I met him down there for lunch, and he said they're not flying into Bend ever again. So they don't have an air traffic control tower, so he described it as the wild, wild west, coming in and trying to dodge aircraft and those that are going through there. A lot of flight schools going on there too, so trying to dodge aircraft coming in, he said, could be a challenge in the jet that he flies, so they're now flying into Redmond from here.
So how many firefighters do you have now? So you said you're, 9 posted, but how many do you have?
So I believe our numbers right now, we're right around 59 line staff. I think total 68 in the organization. So we're hoping the levy will allow us, or our goal was to shoot for 9. I'm going to try to get 10 out of it if we can. My goal is to identify the number of suppression staff across all 3 shifts and even that out. But that's all going to be dependent on the budget.
Have you identified a site for a new Southwest station?
So no, we have not. In our discussions with the city, because the city airport we do a contract for service, and actually that contract just expired June 30th, so we're actually in the process of renewing that contract. Some of the things we've been discussing with the city, because of the urban renewal area in the south, they really have the south end locked down. There's some future discussions about 19th, as 19th goes down and potentially has an overpass to get to 97. Somewhere off of 19th, or also Elkhorn and Canal, there's some future expansion for a park and a roundabout at Canal and at Elkhorn, which there might be an opportunity to carve out some property there for a fire station. So we're still looking at it, what's going to be the best to access all of the area. In the interim, when we hire people, we're looking at an operation standard of cover where we can get an additional medic unit possibly out at the airport. So that'll get that unit with an ALS crew to the south end quicker than Flying Fox.
So the Caffrey fire that just happened, can you talk a little bit about, first of all, like how many different fire agencies were involved with that fire, and then who has oversight, who makes the calls, how that works, how that process works?
Yeah, so initial response, there's a lot of agencies that were involved in that. Thankfully, that area was BLM land, and so they ultimately take responsibility fairly quickly. I think they got there pretty quick. But initially it was Redmond Fire, and then some, I think Ben was here assisting with us. Crook County obviously was affected. And but ultimately, BLM gets their resources. When the battalion chief responds, they start to coordinate all of those agencies coming together to help on those wildfires. It's another part that it's amazing to get all of these people together as quickly as they come together. And the way that they're able to, they pre-position apparatus as well, so their response to the area is pretty quick. So COIDC and BLM and any other agency, I'm trying to think of. OSFM has some folks that come out as well. But how quickly they come together is amazing. And Pacific Power, that's been the big discussion recently, because even prior to McCafferty, there was that small fire that we had. Was it off East Ambler area?
Yeah, East Side.
Yeah. Power was shut off. Some of you may have been affected by that, but that was, out of abundance of caution for the power lines in the area, firefighters working, and just to prevent any sort of arcing of those lines that would further extend or spread that fire. Sorry. Go ahead.
I just want to do a shout out to the COCC paramedic program, to be locally trained, locally hired. They already have a place to stay. They don't have to go look for a house they can't afford. Boon to the community.
I agree.
Do you know the source of that fire, the McCaffrey Road fire?
I don't think it's been determined yet.
I think it's Tannerite.
Tannerite?
Someone going out there shooting off Tannerite, 'cause that's where you go shoot.
Oh, okay.
There's other things out in that area that cause fires too.
I don't think they've determined
They haven't determined or disclosed it.
it. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. I had actually just 2 weeks before, maybe I did a hot air balloon ride. I've never done it before, but I did it for my better half, and I did it for our anniversary, and we landed right where that fire was.
Oh, nice.
So right next to one of the national parks.
Yeah. You should have
That's why I purchased it a couple weeks earlier.
You fly with Darren?
Darren
Darren.
and Garrett was his help too.
Yeah,
It was great. It was
they do good work.
a cool experience.
It used to be, at least it seemed to be, that every time there was a position like a fire position coming open, there used to be lots and lots of people line up. My understanding, that's not necessarily happened now. What's caused the change, do you think?
Wow, I wish I had that magic answer. I don't know. And here I haven't seen it yet because again, I'm new to the area. This position is different than where I came from in Washington State. Washington State, I recall taking tests for the city of Seattle, and there were 5,000 applicants, and they reserved Kane Hall at UW, and they just do tests repeatedly for an entire week, and then over time it slowly started to decline. I think there's a lot of speculation. I'm not exactly sure what the cause is. It's not a highly sought after job like it was in past years, and I'm not sure why that is. It's certainly a great profession. It offers great benefits for people and their families, and time for people and their families, but it certainly is a job that brings some risks. So I'm not sure.
Obviously, you're not going to get any recruits out of this group.
My concern is the man in uniform still as attractive to others as he always has been? I mean, if you're losing that, whatever, I'm concerned.
We're seeing a lot of changes in the workforce, and again, I don't know the magic answer, but people used to like working to fill vacancies, and we struggle with filling vacancies today. So there are days where we report to the board of directors every single month the units that we have to close down because we just can't staff it. And we have a mandatory staffing policy, so we do mandatory our firefighters, and we mandatory quite a bit. But we can only mandatory to a safety limit. We don't want them to work too many hours, so they can't work over a 72-hour shift. And as you can imagine, a 72-hour shift where you have even one brush fire, it could be pretty taxing on someone physically. So.
I just, not really a question or a comment, but many years ago, Gary had us plugged in with the fire department with bicycle helmets and car seats. We used to partner with that, and then currently we're part of a fish fair with you guys. So just to thank you for your continuing cooperation and partnership with that.
No, I appreciate that, and not to point out a downside to that organizationally, but I think organizationally, I want to get us back involved in the community. I want us to get involved in the fish fair and have a presence, not just presence of those that are on duty that day, but a volunteer presence, because we've also seen that start to slowly drop off. I've done a few events with the organization, and the turnout isn't quite what I would hope. So we're really going to try working with our folks, and I think it was even suggested by the budget committee as part of a process, because our local option levy passed, but it was a very slim margin, and we have to really take a hard look in the mirror and see where we can help our organization and the community to get back involved to do bicycle helmets. One of the projects that I did in King County was Operation More and Firefighter Coats for Kids. So I started it, I ran it for about 11 years, and every year we chose a school. We did anywhere from 100 to 200 coats. So we did kindergarten and first grade, and it was a great program. They're still doing it today. the goal is to get out there a little more and be a little more.
September 21st, we have lots of volunteer opportunities for you guys. Dates, serving beer, family event, Oktoberfest. We would love to see some.
Yeah, let us know. Anything and bring anything to Tom and he'll bring something back to us and anything we can help get out there to our workforce to try to get them involved. I want to make sure that we do that. I want to kind of bring back the sense of community that I think maybe we lost as an organization over the years. And again, I don't know what the cause of that was, but we certainly want to get more.
Chief, before Michelle runs you off, he's talking about the process when we hire. We have a civil service commission because the firefighters have to be tested. So if anybody's interested in being on the civil service, Carol can tell you that they meet probably once every year. So if you're interested, we're going to be putting out for applications on civil service. So we have to get a list going on who's qualified based on the rules of the game. So I forgot to announce that earlier. So if anybody's interested, it's not a major commitment. So I think there's 3 people on the board.
Yeah, there are 3 and there's the 1 vacancy.
Well, maybe another shout out. Thank you, Tom, who was on TV. Sent a little clip out so everybody can click on that, and right about the 1 minute mark, he's, smiling and nodding his head and accepting thank you for some of the recent fires. And when I picked up flags on Flag Day, we had a couple firefighters get their big trucks out and follow us and helped us pick up flags. And it was kind of a spur of the moment. They were available, so that was very appreciated.
Yeah. We just did it recently, again on the 4th of July.
Yeah.
So the fire department, one of the days that we do is September 11th. So that's the day where the fire department comes in, but we still pass it on to the shift battalion chief to determine whether or not they have a crew available to do that. I drove around following people in my vehicle because I have lights.
Yeah.
So it's surprising how quick it goes. They have it down to a science, so it was pretty quick.
It's taken years to get there.
No, it was fun people.
Yeah.
Well, as we give our chief our gesture of appreciation for being here, can I have everybody that's involved with the fire department please come up for a photo real quick? It's always fun just you and me, guys. More fun when we get the group up here. So this is a small gesture of appreciation just for your time today, and we're just so thankful because we know how busy you are. So yeah, so can we all come together, guys?
All right. I'm gonna get you. I know you.
You too. You guys too.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Everybody. All right. So Gary didn't get the message on your end of the uniform.
Gary took it off.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
That's
Before
right. I just want to make a comment on July 4th. The crews were so busy. You got to remember they started at 8 in the morning, and they worked 48 hours. They finally stopped at 5:30 in the morning. So they worked their tails off with all the illegals and little fires and big fires, and so we have a great fire department. I'm not saying that because I've been on board almost 40 years, but it's a great fire department.
Well, guys, before we adjourn today, as you guys know, it's been a very difficult week for our country. And it's so important now more than ever that we be very careful with the rhetoric, how we talk about people, how we talk about our community, how we talk about our fire department, our police departments. And so with that, our quote of the day: when tempted to fight fire with fire, remember that firefighters usually use water. So thank you guys. Have a wonderful